Hello friends! People have always sought to conquer rivers, seas, and oceans, so it isn't surprising that various vessels are becoming increasingly popular, playing an important role in both transportation and tourism. Unfortunately, accidents on the water aren't uncommon. They cause millions of dollars worth of damage. But what is uncommon is getting to witness such events. In today's video, you'll get to see some horrifying shipwrecks, as well as amusing and interesting incidents on the water that got caught on camera. In the Canary Islands, a ferry with passengers rammed a massive concrete wall of the port, causing it to collapse onto the road. The incident was later attributed to electrical malfunctions. Do you think this man should be allowed to operate a watercraft because of his clumsiness? Or do you think this incident happened because of alcohol intoxication? This young man in a red shirt decided to lead by example and show the fish what to do. An excellent way to feel all-powerful and run on water. When bravery borders on stupidity, one can find themselves in a very ridiculous and even dangerous situation. He may have been good at riding the jet ski, but after such a stop, he might not want to ever try it again. Back in 2012 in Hong Kong, a fishing boat with 14 Chinese activists on board entered disputed waters, and 2 patrol boats of the Japanese Coast Guard pursued it, ultimately bringing it to a stop. Working in the ports of some countries requires a lot of courage and stress resistance. However, these workers seem to be used to their unusual and even hazardous working conditions. They usually say that boat trips are calming and relaxing. This one, however, was clearly more energizing than anything else. Graceful jumps into the water are definitely not his strong suit. This man didn't seem to realize that the capabilities of his motorboat don't quite match those of an icebreaker. Don't try doing this stunt. He is obviously a very experienced and skilled wakeboarder. Two barges crashed into a dam of the overflowing Arkansas River in the state of Oklahoma. It was incredibly fortunate that they didn't damage the structure itself, as it would have had catastrophic consequences for the region. Some modern watercraft have a particularly impressive design and technical characteristics. This massive cruise liner, MSC Opera, with 13 decks, lost control of its engines, leading to a collision with a smaller boat named River Countess. The incident occurred in Venice, Italy. The ship crashed into the dock and then crunched the small boat as if it were made of paper or plastic. Women on ships were considered bad luck for a long time. Nowadays, however, no one really believes it anymore and only say so as a joke. But sometimes the saying seems relevant even in the modern world. This clearly wasn't his first time doing that, but he still managed to accidentally fall into the water. This kind of boat might prove to be a very convenient option in case of a divorce and division of assets. For a moment there, it seemed like the huge amount of work and money invested in the ship would be wasted. That's why one needs to be very careful when helping others, or they may risk making the situation worse. In this case, it wasn't just the boat that continued to sink, but also the crane manipulator that ended up underwater. Despite the modern equipment and experience in logistics, the unloading process can sometimes go horribly wrong. Showing off on their jet ski by the shore, someone completely forgot about safety and appropriate behavior. It isn't only boats that can navigate along rivers. Even vehicles can do so when necessary, and if there's a spot with shallow waters. They haven't realized yet that the hole won't let them sail as far as they had planned. In 2020, a cargo ship encountered a severe storm with hurricane winds and big waves. As a result of the incident, over 1,800 containers sank into the Pacific Ocean. Even working with such large cargo requires extreme precision. The captain misjudged the situation and failed to see how big a wave was approaching his boat. Fortunately, no one was injured, even though the boat was capsized. What could be better than a fun party on a yacht? However, one can't fully relax there. Being on the water, one has to observe safety measures to avoid becoming a participant or the cause of incidents or collisions with other vessels. One vessel's crew filmed a 225-meter-long tanker approaching an 18th century coastal mansion that was worth $1 million. They say that Vita Spirit even dropped its anchor to try and stop, but it wasn't enough, and the tanker crashed into the historical landmark, tearing off part of the roof and damaging the cladding of the building. Vessels often have complex dimensions and they weigh a lot. Thus, transporting them often requires their owners to come up with some ingenious ideas. Unlike his driving skills, his self-preservation instinct is very well developed. Even people with extensive experience in handling boats can struggle in such rapid currents. The wave tossed the boat as if it were a toy. It's a miracle that no one was hurt. This man decided to goof around, and he forgot that there's a right time and place for everything. The giant tanker Stellar Banner ran aground and tilted heavily to the starboard side. Its crew was evacuated, and the ship was refloated so that emergency rescue teams could retrieve the cargo: 3,500 tons of fuel oil and 275,000 tons of iron ore. It turned out that the ship was beyond repair and had to be sunk. Fish and sea animals are the true masters here. It shouldn't be surprising that sometimes they choose to remind us of this simple truth. Various ropes or cables capable of withstanding incredible loads are used as mooring lines on ships. Who said that inexperienced divers are slow and cautious? This woman definitely proves the opposite. He was lucky that this didn't happen in the open sea, so he will definitely be rescued in time. A truly heart-wrenching sight. Let's hope that the yacht was at least insured. It's hard to describe how dangerous the situation was for the people when the engine of their vessel stalled in the worst possible place, near a dam. Fortunately, luck smiled on them when another ship responded to their distress signal and rescued them. Strong winds made it difficult for them to control the sailboat, leading to some very unpleasant consequences. The container ship SCL Virginia had a fatal encounter with the ferry Ulysses, which punched a hole through the tanker's side. Thick crude oil spilled through the hole and spread along the beaches near Corsica. The accident happened because the officer on duty on board the Tunisian Ulysses was talking on the phone during the accident and didn't notice that the SCL Virginia had anchored in an unusual place. Incredibly, the tanker appeared on the ferry's radar more than an hour before the accident, and signal lights were on board the SCL Virginia. They may have miscalculated the height of the cargo and its clearance under the bridge, but the losses will be insignificant and most of it will still reach its destination. Kayaking offers numerous benefits for both the body and emotional state. The relaxing sound of the water, fresh air, and beautiful nature help relieve anxiety and guarantee a good mood. Nothing complicated here, almost the same as pulling fish out of the water. These two vessels collided on the water. As you can see, absurd collisions don't only happen on the roads. A huge ship ended up at the bottom of the ocean, along with thousands of cars that were soon to be delivered to their new owners. The damage amounted to several $100 million, while the environmental damage is still hard to even estimate. The design of hydrofoil sailboats makes it possible for the boat to rise above the water's surface, reducing resistance and allowing for higher speeds. A huge yacht called Yogi, worth $39 million, was involved in a major sea accident. This fashionable boat sunk due to the overheating of one of the engines. After the stern door jammed, water began to seep on board. When the second engine failed, the boat sank within 5 hours. None of the crew members were harmed, although the entire team got a bit wet. While surfers seek huge waves, boats become too unstable when encountering them. These tourists probably regretted choosing that particular day to go out on the sea. Was winning this race really worth taking such a risk? Unfortunately, this captain wasn't as good at estimating height as he thought. One shouldn't forget that a regular boat isn't an all-terrain vehicle, and that not all routes are equally passable for it. Considering the circumstances, they're being remarkably calm. These men clearly expected a light breeze and not a flow that would knock them off their feet in an instant. Even just the thought of such a disaster is terrifying. The only consolation is a successful evacuation of the ship's passengers and crew. Apparently, he really loves walking on the edge and getting the adrenaline rush. They seem to have prepared everything necessary for the launch to go smoothly, but something went wrong anyway. Do you also think that this wasn't the most reliable mooring, especially considering the weather conditions? It's not difficult to imagine dangerous ways to leave the ship, and this is definitely one of them. Passengers on 2 cruise liners were shocked by the collision of 2 ships in the port of Cozumel, Mexico. Carnival Glory was trying to enter the dock when the bow of the smaller ship Carnival Legend made a hole in its rear, literally pulling out a piece of the hull. No one knows what exactly caused the incident, but the official version blames bad weather and strong winds. Friends, that's all for today. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.